My name is Irina Filippova, as Walter has mentioned. I spent my career in the energy sector, starting in oil and gas, so both upstream and downstream, and transitioning to renewable energy about 17 years ago. So I've been on this journey for quite some time in electric mobility since 2019, which makes me almost a veteran in this young, budding industry. Our topic today is all around challenges and opportunities in fleet electrification, and I hope that it's going to be relevant for those of you in the room who are looking to electrify your fleets. We are a 360 charging as a service company, which means that what we provide to fleets is that outcome, that product called electric fuel, so that you don't have to worry about what type of charging infrastructure to deploy at your depot sites, how to select it, and how to, most importantly, ensure that it's reliable. We work with all types of fleets in terms of classes of vehicles, and in terms of geography, all across North America. We believe in truly listening to the customer from day one, understanding their requirements, understanding what success looks like to them, learning from that, building that trust to help them transform their fleets and electrifying successfully. We're looking at the specific fit between the vehicle, that vehicle's use case, the routes, the mileage that that vehicle is going to be putting on every day, and what type of charging infrastructure is required to keep that vehicle reliably charged, to make that electric fuel available to you. Well, one of our first customers, Ferguson Enterprises, a great company based on Newport News. I don't know if the gentleman from Newport News is here. We've deployed both level 2 and DC fast charging infrastructure at those 5 sites with an aggregate demand of about 1.3 megawatt of power. And the utilities that we've worked with, it was SMUD in Sacramento, SC in Southern California, and PG&E. The number one benefit that we've provided to Ferguson, of course, has been the reliability of charging infrastructure. We've delivered over 99%, 99.4% uptime to that customer. And a little bit later on, I'll talk about what that 99% truly represents in terms of hours. Fuel certainty. Another component that we offer is a fixed charging as a service rate that is determined on the per mile basis, on the per kWh basis, so the customer knows how much they're paying for electric fuel. That is essentially a locked fuel contract for the entirety of our work together. So, say for 5 years. And that fuel price is determined on a locational basis for each of the sites. Risk mitigation doesn't just mean the fact that we provide our own capital, and therefore that's our capital that's at risk. It also means all the technology that we deploy, we're responsible for its performance. And lastly, in terms of alignment, what's very important to understand is that in the nascent market, there's a lot of technology, new technology available, and you might be tempted to try it out. And folks are selling you technology, hardware, software, oftentimes without that SLA in place. What that means is that your long-term interests may not be fully aligned with your supplier, which is why we set up a partnership in a sense that our long-term interests are entirely aligned with our customers. So this charging as a service or electric fuel solution, what does it really mean? What it does come down to? Well, as mentioned, we capitalize 100% of all energy infrastructure costs. There's no small print. We never say that we cover X but not Y. We cover the entirety of what it takes to deploy those energy assets at a depot site. We guarantee contractually the 99% uptime. And I want to make sure that resonates with the room, because you won't find any charging manufacturer out there who would guarantee 99% uptime. So what this essentially means is that charging as a service, as a solution, is much more favorable to either doing it yourself or contracting turnkey services, which means that there is no reliability provision. There's no 99% uptime performance guarantee provision, nor is there capitalization of that infrastructure that someone else undertakes, nor the long-term alignment that we talked about earlier. And the importance of data management. And to a lot of you, data represents a very valuable and new area of study, as it were, when it comes to fleet electrification. So what we do is we bring charging management, energy management, and fleet management into a single integrated platform from which we then report out the KPIs that are important to you, to your fleet, to your organization, with as much frequency as you'd like. Obviously, ensuring that 99% performance uptime. So as mentioned, we start truly with the customer journey, trying to understand how important is electrification for this customer. What are they prepared to do? How much they're prepared to electrify, and where, early on. Helping them high grade and prioritize sites, understand which vehicles they're choosing and for what reason, whom they're working with as their vehicle providers, as their OEMs and FMCs. Maybe gleaning something from our prior experience around those vehicles. That's the engagement piece. Secondly, we actually design a solution that fits, again, that reliability requirement for those customers' vehicles. We energize, meaning that the infrastructure goes live. Once we've energized, we train the customer on how to operate the charging infrastructure. We don't rely typically on public charging, whether or not it's available, so that we ensure, again, that that battery can be fully operated during the time that the driver is out doing their daily routes. This works primarily for depots and for the vehicles with the current battery availability. Again, the 99% reliability means about 22 hours a quarter of downtime. That's not a lot, which means that the way in which we run our operations and maintenance is very, very structured and very much choreographed. We typically stage spares, both parts and units on site. We rip and replace level 2 chargers if there are hardware issues. And in all cases, we respond in under 4 hours. Day and night, 24/7, 365. Again, looking at the overall project milestones, it's important to be cognizant of just how long it takes to get through project implementation, project deployment. And there are a lot of forces at play in terms of utility and permitting authorities, and really working across the ecosystem to ensure that all the partners are aligned in bringing the system on stream. We've heard of lots of cases of fleets trying to kind of get the operations going, only to find their vehicles stranded or their charging infrastructure stranded, waiting for their vehicles to come. So what we try to do is align the site live dates with vehicle availability dates, which again is important, that we would work together with a fleet owner or a fleet manager to actually understand when the vehicles are coming and get engaged in the early stages of that process. We provide weekly reporting in terms of how we're doing vis-a-vis our timelines through simple dashboards, again, to just orient the customer and be perfectly transparent on where we are in the process, all the way through to site operational. Site operational for us is when the customer has been fully trained on both the charging infrastructure and the new electric vehicle. So in short, these are some of the benefits that the charging as a service provides. One, it's fully capitalized. So the capital is ours. We actually invested in the infrastructure that we've selected. I will say that selecting the right types of chargers is not just a price point. It's a process. We, for example, have a lab where we test all the chargers for interoperability with vehicles, as well as interoperability with our back end, so that the customer is not surprised and we're not experimenting on a customer site. If we bring a solution to the customer site, this means that we have fully tested it. and we don't have any more questions remaining about the reliability, and we can ensure that 99%. That's the performance part. The guaranteed reduced cost per mile obviously translates into the kind of the easier and the more predictable way of working with fixed CaaS price upfront. We talked about the lower operational risk. Again, taking all of the risk components off the table to enable the fleet customer to focus on what they do best, that is transportation and logistics, and not having to worry about whether or not their vehicles are going to be charged in the morning to run their shifts. And of course, long-term success. How do we align and make sure that we're not there just creating something, that short-term solution, and then walking away? The fact that we serve the customer over the term of our agreement for the entire time, be it 5 years or 10 years, means that we're there every step of the way. And we ensure that that operation is fully managed from the reliability perspective.